Welcome into the Commanders Report live show. I'm your host, Jack Sperry. Thank you to all the real ones tuning in at the beginning of today's live program. We got a bunch of great Commanders content to talk with you guys this afternoon. First up, the latest news and rumors surrounding the Washington Commanders, some new trade rumors that we're going to be discussing today. Then we'll get into Jayden Daniels, where his NFL peers, as a rookie quarterback, is going into his second year. He's already ranked as a top 5 quarterback in the entire league among NFL execs, coaches, and players. And then we'll get into the weekly Commanders Report live mailbag, where you guys get a chance to get your questions on the show here, where I answer your Commanders questions. If you want to get a question on today's show, all you have to do is go down there in the live chat room, use hashtag Commanders, and then put your question after that hashtag Commanders. So, for example, you put in there, hashtag Commanders, will the Commanders win the Super Bowl this year, or any other question that you have, and I will answer that question for you guys. So get those questions down there in the comments section. We greatly appreciate you. Also, if you super chat, our producer Joey Peterson will make sure to get you in the mailbag today. The only way to guarantee your question gets on the show is if you super chat. And with that, speaking of producer Joey, he is back this week. Joey, it's good to see you. It's good to have you back in that producer chair this week, my friend.
It's good to be back, man. Hopefully things went off without a hitch last week.
Yes, they did.
No complaints. There we go.
Shout out to producer Coop. Shout out to producer Coop for stepping in.
Commander Coop stepped in.
Even though he's a stupid Cowboys fan, thinks Dak Prescott's a better rusher of the football than Jayden Daniels. But that's okay, Coop. It's okay.
Dak Prescott, even when he was coming out of college, was not a better rushing quarterback than Jack Daniels. Or
Jayden Daniels.
Jayden Daniels. Nonetheless, 10 years into
Jack Daniels. What? I mean, it's only what, 5 o'clock Eastern? I guess it's 5 o'clock somewhere.
What's in the cup?
It's 5 o'clock. What's in the cup? You got some Jack and Coke in there here at work here, Mr. Peterson? Well, hey, as long as it doesn't affect the show, I'm down with whatever you're down with here, Joey. But let's talk about this, man. The NFL execs, coaches, and players voted, and Jayden Daniels gets into the top 5 among NFL quarterbacks, above guys like Justin Herbert, Jalen Hurts, others as well. What are your thoughts on Jayden already being named a top 5 QB?
I'm not going to lie to you. I was a little bit surprised. I didn't expect that, especially because this is a list, from coaches, execs, scouts. And so I thought, I figured he'd be top 10 after the season he had last year, but top 5, that's a really big deal for a guy who's only played in the NFL for 1 year. But like we're going to talk about later, like we talked about a lot, he did something that no other rookie quarterbacks have ever done. He won in the playoffs, right? And he did it more than just one game. And so, yeah, I would probably have him slightly outside of the top 5, but he's close, man. He's really close.
Who would you have as that 5th QB? Because I think most people agree with the top 4. You know, it's Mahomes, it's Allen, it's Lamar, and then it's Burrow.
Yeah, whatever.
But there's some debate as to who that 5th quarterback is. Some people, I've seen a lot of people put Jalen Hurts in that top 5 discussion just because he's got that Super Bowl and some of these other quarterbacks don't. But how many quarterbacks in the league could have won a Super Bowl with that Eagles team last year? It was a generationally great Eagles roster last year. Arguably the best running back, one of the best wide receiver rooms, arguably the best O-line, arguably the best defense. Jalen Hurts just had to not fuck it up last year. And to his credit, he didn't fuck it up. But there's a lot of guys that wouldn't fuck it up last year, right? So I think top 5, I think top 10 is good for Jalen Hurts. I think where they had him ranked was 9th. I think that was about right for him. But Jayden, I think, you can put him anywhere in that 5 to 7 range, in my opinion, based on what he did last year. I think he's right in the same kind of tier as Matthew Stafford and Justin Herbert.
Matthew Stafford was the one I would have put there.
Yeah, and Matthew Stafford, proven Super Bowl champion, really, really great quarterback, not taking anything away from him. But Jayden, man, as we're going to talk about in our second segment today, he had a historically great rookie season that I can't wait to share some of those stats that show just how special Jayden was last year. But in my opinion, I'm going to be releasing my quarterback rankings here in a couple weeks, Joey. Jayden Daniels will be my 5th quarterback. In my opinion, I would take him and his rushing and scrambling ability over Justin Herbert and Matthew Stafford. Yeah. And, I know I'm getting a clutch factor with Stafford, but I'm also getting that with Daniels. And we're going to talk about some of his clutch numbers later today. So for me personally, I would put him in the top 5, but I could say anywhere in the top 5 to 7 is probably about right for him. Yeah. $10 from my man, John Masood, says Jack, Cassie Voth, and Joey. John, it's always good to see you in the chat, my friend.
Not Cassie Voth. for much longer.
Not Cassie Voth for much longer. It's going to be Cassie Sperry pretty soon.
Boom, boom.
It's got a good ring to it. Cassie's down in the chat right now, so shout out to my beautiful fiance now.
There we go.
Cassie, soon to be Sperry. Mike G, my man, $5 brings in the cloud with the $5 super chat. Shout out to Mike. Everybody show some love to John and to Mike in the chat for those super chats. We appreciate you guys. But before we get into our first segment here, type those me's down there in the comment section. Who's all here? If you want a shout out, type me in the chat and we will give some shout outs here. We got Jasmine Gray, Roy Tillman. We've got Ivanki. We've got Richard Barker. We got Jasmine. We've got Cassie Voth. We got Dean Productions. Keep spamming those me's if you guys have clicked that thumbs up icon. We've got Mike G. We got John Masood. We got Finley Barber. We've got Mike G again. We got Soma Chin. We got GS for Life. We've got Dean Productions again. We got John Masood. It says me in the chat. Man, we got a bunch of people in this chat room right now, 66 people watching live around the world. That's going to continue to increase throughout the day. But first up on the show, the latest Commanders news and rumors. Then we'll get into why Jayden Daniels is already a top 5 quarterback in the NFL. And then we'll get into your questions. Again, use hashtag Commanders. The real ones know what to do. Type those hashtag Commanders and those questions down there in the comment section. We'll make sure to get to your questions at the end of today's show. But first up here, the latest news and rumors surrounding the Washington Commanders is coming at you right now. Today on the Commanders Report, we got the latest Commanders trade rumors, including a new trade idea that would land Cam Jordan from the New Orleans Saints to the Washington Commanders this year. And then we'll get into Frankie Luvu, the off-ball linebacker for the Washington Commanders, who got some much deserved love from his peers in the NFL this week. But before we get into the content here, guys, don't miss a thing either before, during, or after the Commanders 2025 NFL season this year. Click that subscribe button. We got daily and free in-depth Commanders coverage on this channel. We have watch parties for every single Commanders game this year, regular season and playoffs. So make sure you guys click that subscribe button if you haven't already to never miss your daily dose of Commanders news and rumors. All right, so let's get into our first story of the day here, where USA Today's Corey Woodruff suggests that the Commanders could trade for New Orleans Saints edge rusher Cam Jordan. Corey said this about a potential trade that would land Jordan in the nation's capital. Jordan has been a career Saint, but his odds of winning a Super Bowl in New Orleans feel pretty slim at this point, given where the franchise is right now. The Commanders are a bona fide title contender, but the team could use a rotational veteran coming off the edge to affect the passer. While Jordan finishing out his career in New Orleans is the storybook ending, the Saints trading the future Hall of Famer so he can close his NFL days with a contender is probably the best path forward for both sides. Washington would benefit from having Jordan on the roster, as he could provide valuable depth off the edge and veteran leadership off the field. And honestly, guys, I've talked about Cam Jordan on this channel before. It was maybe a couple months back, but I'm not super interested in him. He's not a pass rusher anymore. He's just not. He's more of a run defender. He's a big body, and he's played in a 4-down front, his entire career there in New Orleans, and he's done a pretty darn good job of that. Obviously, he's a big name. Obviously bringing in a big name would certainly get the fans a little bit riled up, but he's just not much of a pass rusher at this point in time, guys. Honestly, he's more useful almost as like a 3-4 defensive end or a 4-eye, where he's playing almost like an interior type of role, where he's used as somebody that can blow up offensive lines on stunts. He's not really a true one-on-one pass rush winner at this point in his career, and the Commanders already have a bunch of guys like that. They got Dorrance Armstrong, Cleveland Ferrell, bigger guys that are better against the run than they are true pass rushers, and I don't think that this necessarily fills the void of 10.5 sacks that Dante Fowler leaves on this defense after going back to the Dallas Cowboys this offseason. And honestly, I like the options better in free agency. Plus, you don't have to give up a draft pick, right? Von Miller had a really good PFF grade last year of 85.5. I know he's 36 years old, but he is somebody that can still get after quarterbacks and would be awesome in that rotational role as a designated pass rusher. Zadarius Smith had a decent season last year with Detroit. Jadeveon Clowney's been productive over the last several seasons. Matthew Judon, 2 seasons ago, was a legit number 1. Last year, not so much after being traded to the Atlanta Falcons. And then Preston Preston Smith is another solid piece that you can consider if you are the Washington Commanders. But my two favorites on this list, and maybe three favorites, Von Miller, Zadarius Smith, and Jadeveon Clowney, I think are all better than Cam Jordan right now. Plus, they don't cost a draft pick to acquire. So what's your choice? Let me know down there in the comments section. Trade a 7th-round pick for Cam Jordan, type CJ, or would you rather just sign a free agent like Von Miller, Jadeveon Clowney, Zadarius Smith, somebody else? Type FA down there in the comments section if you want a free agent. And this will be the pinned comment on today's show. So YouTube's going to throw you an ad break here in just a couple of seconds. When that happens, take advantage of that time, but let me know what you would do at the edge rusher position. So now let's get into an article from Bleacher Report here, which says that the number one thing that the Commanders can do before the start of the season is, quote-unquote, add a veteran cornerback, not an edge rusher. Matt Holder was the Bleacher Report member that wrote this article, and he had this to say about the biggest need for the Commanders heading into the year. This was a need for the Commanders last year, hence the midseason trade for Marshawn Lattimore, but he wasn't very reliable in Washington. The only other notable veteran at the position the front office brought in this offseason was Jonathan Jones, who also didn't play particularly well in 2024. Meanwhile, the team has Super Bowl hopes and is looking to take advantage of Jayden Daniels being on a rookie contract. So, shoring up the secondary with a veteran would be in line with how GM Adam Peters has operated over the last 2 off seasons. And I guess Matt Holder didn't watch day 2 of the NFL draft. I guess that's just too boring for him because he didn't see Trey Amos, a really good corner that I think is ready to start right away, being drafted in the 2nd round by the Washington Commanders. So not only do you bring in Jonathan Jones, who for most of his career has actually been a very good player, not to mention he's inside-outside versatile and can play in the slot, but Trey Amos is coming in here, and he could be an awesome complement in his rookie season as this team's CB2 on the other side of Marshawn Lattimore. So I don't know if Holder actually knows that Amos is on the team or if he even knows who Amos is, but he's probably in line to be this team's starting CB2 at least at some point during this season. So I really don't think cornerback is a big need for the Washington Commanders heading into the year. In fact, I think it's a pretty big strength for this roster this year after it was a big-time dumpster fire last year. Not only was Marshawn Lattimore dealing with a hamstring injury, which hampered him on the field, not to mention kept him off the field quite a bit after that trade with New Orleans last year, but then you had Benjamin St. Toast, you had Emmanuel Forbes, you had Michael Davis. None of those guys were worth their salt as NFL starters, in my opinion. But this year, you inject Trey Amos and you inject Jonathan Jones in here. You still have Mike Sainristil, who's going to be your slot guy. And even if one of these 3 starters gets hurt, guys, Jonathan Jones is going to be able to come in and play either on the outside or on the inside. I really don't see much of a need here for the Washington Commanders to add another corner. So I have to disagree with Matt Holder on his take there. I think the most important thing for them to do is add an edge rusher before the season. And then that same Bleacher Report article from Matt Holder says that the Cincinnati Bengals should trade Trey Hendrickson. Now maybe Matt is starting to get on my good side here. This is what Holder had to say about the Bengals letting go of the sack leader last year in the NFL. The Hendrickson contract saga has been going on for a while, and a resolution doesn't appear to be in sight. Meanwhile, the Bengals used a 1st-round pick on Shamar Stewart, who is also engaged in a contract dispute with the club, and they have Joseph Asai and Miles Murphy to line up at defensive end. If Cincinnati isn't going to pay the 2024 sack leader the money he's looking for, then it should trade him sooner rather than later to maximize its return. So listen, man, I would be 100% A-okay trading for Trey Hendrickson. In fact, I think that this would be Washington's best case scenario. He would be the ultimate cherry on top of the sundae that Adam Peters has been constructing here during the 2025 offseason, adding the NFL sack leader that's had 17.5 sacks the last 2 seasons with the Cincinnati Bengals into a defense that desperately needs one-on-one pass rushing help would be a godsend for this team, in my opinion. Now, I think that this defense will be better than it was last year, even without Hendrickson, but Hendrickson's the type of player on this defensive line that can take this defense to pretty good to really good in just one big move. But I do think that Cincinnati and Hendrickson will probably come to some sort of agreement to keep Hendrickson in Cincinnati. I don't know what that deal is going to look like. Right now, it's not looking particularly pretty, and it's definitely getting ugly between Hendrickson and the Bengals, and I don't know if the Bengals even have the money to pay Hendrickson the cash he wants this year, but I do think that eventually a deal is going to be struck here, and he is going to remain a Cincinnati Bengal. But if the trade is going to happen here, I think it's going to look something along the lines of this, where the Commanders don't have a lot of draft picks next year, so I think they'll do a pick swap in 2026 where they give the Bengals their first-round pick next year. I think the Commanders would be comfortable doing that because you're not going to be drafting a quarterback or anything next year, but you get the Bengals' second-round pick so they don't lose any picks in terms of the number of draft picks they have in next year's NFL draft. They give them a fourth-round pick in 2027 and then Dorrance Armstrong to replace Hendrickson's role in that Bengals defense. And I think that this would be a trade that both sides could agree on if the Bengals decide to come to the table. Now, let me know what you guys think down there in the comments section. Would you accept this trade if you were the Washington Commanders? Type A for accept or D for decline. Let me know what you guys think down there in the comments section. We'll finish up today's show with some good news if you're a Washington Commander fan, which is that Frankie Luvu is getting some much-deserved credit for what he did with the Commanders' defense last year. He was ranked the 5th best off-ball linebacker in football by his NFL peers. Of course, that's execs, that's coaches, and that is players. Here is the list of off-ball linebacker rankings. Fred Warner was number 1. Roquan Smith was 2. Zach Bond, the All-Pro, was number 3. Nick Bolton of the Chiefs was number 4. Luvu gets in there at number 5, and then Tremaine Edmonds is at 6. The ageless wonder, Levante David, slotted in at number 7. DeMarvion Overshown, hopefully he can come back healthy this year after a really nasty injury last year, is number 8. Dre Greenlaw, another Niner, is at number 9. And then Quincy Williams, a really underrated off-ball linebacker for the Jets at number 10. Dre Greenlaw, I think, is actually in Denver this year. My mistake. But then Frankie Luvu last year, the reason why he's ranked this high is because he was such an impact defender for the Washington Commanders last year. I mean, and this is the signing that I was the most excited about last offseason. If you've been with us since the 2024 offseason, you guys know how excited I was about the fit of Frankie Luvu coming over here to Washington and Dan Quinn's scheme, and he had almost 100 tackles. He had 8 sacks, all right? So this guy is an absolute weapon as a blitzer, 12 TFL, so a big-time impact player. He had a forced fumble and then 2 fumble recoveries as well to boot, and he's a decent coverage player as well. So he's kind of the Swiss Army knife for this Commanders defense. He is the true kind of pass rusher, designated threat on passing downs, and Dan Quinn is not afraid to unleash Frankie Luvu's skill set as a blitzer, which made him one of the best linebackers in football last year, and I continue that to be the same thing here in 2025, and I would be willing to go as far to say is Luvu's the best defensive player on this team right now. Bobby Wagner is still very good. I really like some of the corners in this room. I like Marshawn Lattimore, and I like Quan Martin, and I like Jerzon Newton, I like Daron Payne. I like all these guys on the roster, but Frankie Luvu, I think, is the most impactful player on this defensive roster right now, and I'm so glad that he is here with the Washington Commanders. So what say you guys? Let me know down there in the comments section. Who will be the Commanders' best defensive player this season? Do you think somebody breaks out like a Quan Martin or Jerzon Newton, Mike Samerstill, or do you think it's going to be Frankie Luvu, Daron Payne, one of the veterans? Let me know what you guys think down there in the comments section. And that'll be it for today's edition of Commanders News and Rumors. Thank you guys for stopping by today. We'll have more Commanders coverage coming your way tomorrow, so click that subscribe button. And until tomorrow, guys, hail to the Commanders. First segment in the books, Mr. Joey, a $5 super chat from Leandre Lee. I hope I'm saying that right.
There we go. I think that's right.
I think that's right, Leandre. If you have a message, just put it down there with the hashtag Commanders. We'll make sure we get you on the mailbag today if you have a question. Jasmine comes in with a 5. Thank you, Jasmine. Says, can you read it, Joe? I'm going to take a drink.
Yeah. Will we pay Terry? And are we going to get a free agent pass rusher before the season starts?
I hope the answer is yes to both.
Yeah, me too.
A Terry deal is going to get done, okay? Commanders, unless they trade him for like another top wide receiver, like maybe they swap him for Brandon Ayuk, and maybe they get another draft pick on top of Ayuk, maybe they would consider that, even though it doesn't look like Ayuk's going to be ready to go week 1 off that knee injury. That's the only possible way I can see the Commanders trading him, but like Terry McLaurin has an awesome chemistry with Jayden Daniels. The last thing you want to do for your young quarterback, especially if you're trying to win a Super Bowl this year like the Commanders are, is to take away his favorite weapon. And Terry is a top 10 receiver in the game. Adam Peters, I'm not loving what he's doing with the negotiations here because he's doing what the 49ers do. The 49ers and Cowboys specifically, those are kind of the two teams that are infamous for lowballing players until the very end, and then they give them the money that they want right before the season.
And a lot of times it's more than it could have been if you just paid them earlier.
Yeah, exactly. And Terry wants to get paid over $30 million per season, and it might even want to be paid like DK Metcalf level money. I think he's worth that. He was an all-pro last year. He had 13 touchdowns. He's had over 1,000 yards when he had guys like Carson Wentz and Sam Howell and Taylor Heineke throwing him the football. This guy's unbelievable. He does everything that you want. He's great after the catch. He's got phenomenal hands. He led the league last year in contested catch rate. All right, he's one of the best deep ball receivers in the league. He's one of the best route runners. He does everything extremely well. So I don't know how the fuck Adam Peters can go to his representation and say, we view you as a Mike Evans type of receiver. We're only offering you a raise of $1.5 million. Like Schefter alluded to the idea that they're only offering him $24 million per season. He's making $22.5 right now.
That's ridiculous.
That is a ridiculous, insulting offer.
It's a 4% raise.
Yeah, I think that they're trying. Yeah, it's a 4% raise, and it makes him the 17th highest paid receiver to the 15th. It's unacceptable. And if I was Terry, I would be insulted too. I would be frustrated too. But, you look at all these kind of situations that John Lynch has had in San Francisco, Nick Bosa, Deebo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk, Trent Williams last year too. They always get done. All right.
Yep.
They get
Brock Purdy.
Brock Purdy got done earlier. And they didn't pay quite as much as some people thought for him. But, I just want this to get done because we saw last year, Joey, and this is my concern with this. CeeDee Lamb and Brandon Ayuk were the two guys that held out pretty much the entire preseason.
Yep.
They didn't practice at all. And then, they pretty much put on the pads cold week one, and then they have that slow start, both the Cowboys and the Niners, and then Ayuk gets injured, and then Dak gets injured.
Yep.
So, they never really got going. And the last thing that I want here is that Terry isn't practicing during training camp. He's not building up that chemistry and that familiarity with Jayden Daniels, even though I know they've already played a year. But if he doesn't practice with these guys in pads throughout training camp, and then all of a sudden, all right, week one's here, I haven't practiced, but I'm going to go out there and expect to be perfect execution, I think we might have a slow start here on offense if Terry McLaurin gets off to a slow start. And you just don't want to get off to a slow start if you're the Washington Commanders.
Especially if you don't believe that you have a solid pass-catching, route-running option behind Terry. I get it. You got Deebo, but he's not the same wide receiver.
No.
They don't play the same position.
He's not.
They might play the same position when you look at the depth chart, but they don't in reality. They don't in –
They have different roles in the offense.
They have very different roles in Kingsbury's offense. And
then Noah Brown, for as good as he is as a third receiver, you're trusting him to be the X receiver to replace Terry McLaurin? No way in hell.
Especially coming off an injury too.
Yeah, especially coming off it. Yeah, dude. It's just not something that's realistic.
It's not.
The only realistic outcome for me is that they're gonna get this Terry deal done, and I hope it doesn't take all offseason or training camp. I hope that they get it done either before or shortly after training camp so he actually has time to practice with the team, because the last thing I want is for this team to get off to a slow start.
Yep.
So
yeah,
that's where
especially with how hard the schedule is late in the season, when you play so many of those division games late in the season.
Yeah.
It's very unideal if that gets done late.
Yeah, let's avoid that, please. Can we just get this deal done? By the way, the number that he's asking for is not ridiculous. He's better than DK Metcalf. If you pay him what DK Metcalf got, that is a good deal for this football team. So I don't want to hear anything about, he's turning 30. He's still unbelievably good. Just get it done. Pay him. You need him to win. All right. Now that I'm cooling down, go ahead and get your questions in the chat if you haven't already. We got
a great question if you didn't know.
That's great question. It'll be on the mailbag, so I guess I'll rehash it once we get to the mailbag.
Quick question for you. You talked about Frankie Luvu. Being at 5, what do you think about that linebacker list? Because in my opinion, it seems a little high for Roquan and Zach Bond.
The thing about linebacker is that there's not a whole lot of truly elite guys.
There aren't.
Because it's a tough position to be truly elite in. If you can find one that's truly elite, like a Bobby Wagner in his prime, the middle of your defense, you can't throw it to the middle of the defense because Bobby's going to just smash somebody, especially if Cam Chancellor's in the box too. Like, that Seattle defense was crazy. Could not throw it over the middle against that Seattle team.
Dan Quinn, defense coordinator.
And then he had fucking Earl Thomas as the best free safety maybe ever in his prime.
Sherman.
And then Richard Sherman's knocking people down. I mean, it's just unbelievable defense in that Seattle what is it called? Legion of Boom prime. That was crazy
LOB.
defense, man. But I would say, honestly, I'm glad that Frankie got in the top 5. Can make an argument he's top 3.
I could not agree more. I would put him over Zach Bond and Roquan Smith.
Like, what he does, he's not the best pass defender in the world in terms of coverage, but he's good enough. And then he's an awesome run defender. He had double-digit TFLs last year.
Yeah.
And then he had 8 sacks on top of that for somebody that's not a full-time pass rusher. Like, he was arguably their most efficient pass rusher last year.
He was.
Maybe outside of Dante Fowler, who had 10.5. But, but from somebody that wasn't an edge rusher, getting 8 sacks, that is an unbelievable number there. They use him extremely well. And Frankie's one of the reasons why they were comfortable not making a big move for an edge rusher this year, because they know they're going to be able to generate pressure with Frankie coming off the off-ball linebacker position. So I love Frankie. I would probably put him in my top 3 linebackers, if I'm being completely honest with you. He's the best defensive player on this team, and I'm damn happy that he is here with us here in Washington. All right, we're going to get into our next segment here, guys. If you haven't gotten your question in yet, you can use #Commanders down there in the chat. Jasmine, I see your $2 super chat. We will get to that after this next segment. But without further ado, let's talk about why Jayden Daniels is already a top 5 quarterback in the NFL. Commanders quarterback Jayden Daniels has been named the 5th best quarterback in the National Football League by his NFL peers. That's execs, coaches, and players heading into the 2025 NFL season, right on the cusp of becoming a truly elite NFL quarterback, heading into just his 2nd NFL season. And today, I'm going to be breaking down why I believe Jayden Daniels is already a top 5 quarterback in the National Football League and why the people in the NFL agree with me on that statement. But before we get into why Jayden's rookie season was so special and why he's going to be so good for this franchise moving forward, click that thumbs up icon if you haven't already, if you think Jayden Daniels is already a top 5 QB. All right, so let's get into the NFL's top 10 quarterback list. This comes from NFL execs, coaches, and players. Okay, so Patrick Mahomes was listed as the number 1 quarterback, followed by Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, and Joe Burrow. Most people have those 4 guys as the truly elite tier, the top 4. But there's some debate as to who the number 5 guy is, and the NFL players, coaches, and execs say that Jayden Daniels is that next guy in line, followed by Matthew Stafford, Justin Herbert, Jared Goff, Jalen Hurts, and then Baker Mayfield rounding out the list at number 10. And the reason why the players, coaches, and execs feel this way is because of how special Jayden Daniels' rookie campaign was. Just the pure sheer numbers, unbelievable. Highest completion percentage for a rookie in NFL history was 69%. Over 4,400 total yards of offense allocated to Mr. Daniels. 31 touchdowns and 9 interceptions. Really good numbers all across the board for the rookie QB. And then, when you look at the PFF grading, the people doing the grading there at Pro Football Focus who watched the film on him also ranked him 5th in the National Football League last year in their grading system with a 90.6. I believe it's the only time a rookie quarterback has ever had a grade of over 90. So that is once again making history for Jayden at the end of the 2024 campaign. And I think everybody that watched Jayden on film last year pretty much agreed. He is somebody that is doing a really, really good job finding the right man, staying poised under pressure, and I think that grade is reflective of what we saw from his film last season. And then you look at the things that were historically great for Jayden Daniels. His completion percentage and points per game as the quarterback of this team were the highest for a rookie in NFL history. The points per game for this offense last year was 28.5 when Jayden Daniels was when he starts and finishes a game, so that is all-time great. And these numbers are just stuff you don't see from rookie quarterbacks quarterbacks being that comfortable and that poised heading into the year, their first season, especially for a team like the Commanders who didn't have the best roster in the world. But Jayden's special sauce, and in my opinion, what makes him already a top 5 quarterback in the league is his poise under pressure and poise in the clutch. When the lights get brightest and the stage gets bigger, Jayden Daniels plays his best, okay? I really like this tweet from Warren Sharp, breaking down how historically great Jayden Daniels was in the clutch last year. Jayden Daniels had only 48 attempts when trailing in the 5 minutes of games. If we release the requirement to 40 attempts, Jayden Daniels ranks as the number 1 clutch quarterback out of 70 qualifying QBs in the last 5 years. That's not just rookie quarterbacks, guys. That is all quarterbacks in the last 5 years. Jayden Daniels was the most clutch, according to the numbers, of any quarterback in the last 5 years. So not only is he extremely talented with his ability to read defenses, with his arm talent, with his scrambling ability, all that different stuff, but he's also one of, if not the most clutch quarterback in the NFL already as a rookie. Then you take a look at how historically great the Commanders were last year at moving the chains. They had the 6th best third down percentage last year at 45.2, but where they really were special was that they had the highest 4th down conversion rate in the history of the National Football League last year with an 87% conversion rate. That is unheard of, guys, where almost 9 out of every 10 4th down attempts the Commanders are converting. This is why Dan Quinn has all the confidence in the world in this football team to go for it on 4th down, is because they always convert. And Jayden Daniels finds a freaking way to move those chains, which is one of the great things about Jayden Daniels as a player. And by the way, Jayden did all this, all right? He put up all this production. He did all these special things within a below-average offensive line, in my opinion. Of course, injuries to that unit all throughout the year. One legit impact receiver in Terry McLaurin, who is a legit weapon, don't get me wrong, but outside of him, there's some nice pieces, but not a legit impact guy outside of him. A middling running back support, Brian Robinson Jr. had a big stretch without a touchdown last year, famously, and Austin Eckler was on and off with injuries as well. They had a below-average defense with probably the worst cornerback room in the NFL, but despite all that, despite that adversity, Jayden Daniels had an all-time great rookie campaign, and he really carried that Washington team from the number 2 pick, where they selected him with that number 2 overall selection, to the NFC Championship game in just one season, and one of the greatest all-time turnarounds in the history of our league, okay? And the reason why they were able to do that, sure, Dan Quinn and his culture had a little bit to do with that. Frankie Luvu and some of the additions made on defense had a little bit to do with that, but by far, the biggest reason for that is the Commanders had a superstar at quarterback last year in just his first season, and we've never seen this before. Plain and simply, guys, we've never seen a rookie have that much success with less help than what Jayden Daniels did in 2024. We've seen guys, maybe win more games. Big Ben Roethlisberger, his rookie season, won 15 games as a starter, but he didn't put up the numbers that Jayden did. He had a great run game and a phenomenal defense with Bill Cowher as his head coach. Jayden Daniels didn't have any of that help, all right? And he, despite that, was able to lead the Commanders to the same spot the Steelers were able to go to that rookie season with Big Ben, which was a conference championship game. So Jayden Daniels, I think, unquestionably had the greatest rookie season in the history of our league. And coming up here, I'm going to tell you why I don't think he's done yet. I don't think it's going to be a C.J. Stroud situation here. And I'm going to explain why I don't think Jayden Daniels is going to be on the decline and regress here in 2025. But before we get into that, let's have a word from our sponsor today at Ridge. And guys, Ridge makes incredibly premium quality products. I have their wallet, which is super thin and super sleek, and they make it with really premium materials like titanium and others, aluminum as well. And what I love about the Ridge wallet, guys, is I can just put it right in my pocket. It's super thin and convenient. It's not really bulky like the leather wallet you probably have in your wallet right now. It creates a big bulge in your pants, and it just doesn't look very good when you're walking around. And you can also get Commanders themed Ridge products as well. And it's more than just the wallets, guys. They got key holders, they got rings, they got a bunch of different premium quality products in their lineup. And if you guys want to go check them out today for a limited time only, our listeners get 10% off at Ridge by using our code CHAT at checkout. Just head on over to ridge.com and use code CHAT, and you're all set. Guys, what I really love about the Ridge wallet is that it carries all my cards, carries up to 12 cards, and it's super sleek, it's super thin, it just fits in my pocket. I don't have to worry about, carrying cash or anything like that. And, I think that with the branding stuff, no matter what you guys want, if you want to go with your baseball team, if you want to go with your college football team, if you want to go with the Commanders, you can get whatever color scheme that you want. I just went with the plain black one, and I absolutely love it. But again, for a limited time only, our listeners get 10% off at Ridge by using code CHAT at checkout. Just head on over to ridge.com and use code CHAT, and you're all set. After your purchase, they'll ask you where you heard about them. Please support our show and tell them that we sent you. A big shout out to Ridge for sponsoring today's edition of the Commander's Report. So as I discussed before, our sponsor read today, guys, I don't think Jayden Daniels is going to regress this year, and I think that he's going to be just as good, if not better, heading into year 2 in this Cliff Kingsbury scheme. And really the person that people always point to is C.J. Stroud. Oh, C.J. Stroud had a great rookie season, and then, of course, he had that big step backwards in 2024, and we can take a look at his numbers. I actually thought CJ was a little bit overhyped. A lot of people had him in the top 10 of their quarterback lists after that first season, but he didn't really rank in the top 10 in any major category that you look at except for yards per attempt. He was super efficient with 8.2 yards per attempt that season, but everything else is kind of in the mid-teens. It wasn't a bad season. He showed a lot of promise that first year. I'm not trying to say that he didn't, but he also held the ball for a long time. He had the 5th slowest average time to throw. His completion percentage over expectation was 22nd, so he wasn't necessarily the most accurate quarterback in the world. And Bobby Slowick, in that first season off of play action, was able to give him a lot of easy open reads that he took advantage of because he's got great arm talent. But then you look into 2024. Okay, our graphic says 2025, but it's actually 2024. There's only one area on all these 8 stats where he actually got better, which was turnover-worthy play percentage. But everything else, he went from middle of the pack in adjusted EPA per play to 31st. Success rate, middle of the pack last year, goes to that to 34th. Completion percentage over expectation, 33rd in the league last year. And once again, you take a look at that average time to throw in the bottom right, and he's still the 5th slowest among quarterbacks at getting the football out, which led to more pressure and, of course, less results for the Houston Texans offense last year. So you take a look at the rookie stats between C.J. Stroud and Jayden Daniels, and Daniels clearly had the better season. Now, CJ, kind of stuck with him there in some of these areas. He had the slightly better passer rating, but when you account for Jayden's legs, he definitely had the better overall rookie season. He had the higher completion percentage, more total yards, more total touchdowns. Even though Stroud did have a very promising rookie season like we talked about, Jayden's was undeniably better. And then you take a look at where they ranked in the rookie stats there. Like Jayden, once again, everything is higher than what C.J. Stroud was able to do last year. And the big difference for me was that turnover-worthy play percentage. Jayden Daniels was 2nd in the NFL last year in turnover-worthy play percentage. So not only was he making all these big plays, but he was protecting the football at a league-high rate. And then his average time to throw, whereas C.J. Stroud is the 5th slowest at 41st, Jayden Daniels is one of the best at getting the ball out fast. He has an incredible mental processor. He was top 5 in the league last year at getting the ball out on time. So Daniels' game, in my opinion, guys, is so much more translatable to second-year success than Stroud's is, all right? Jayden Daniels, not only is he fantastic from within structure and gets the ball out faster than C.J. Stroud does, not only does he have great arm talent and accuracy to be able to have great numbers from within structure, but then also he's great at scrambling outside the pocket, and he's great at, throwing the ball on the run and doing all those things, being a playmaker with his arm, but he's also all-time great and elite already with his legs scrambling. So, he does everything, and I keep hearing, now that they got film on Jayden Daniels, he's not going to be as good in year 2. And it's I don't care how much film you're watching, man. When Jayden Daniels is running around that pitch, you're not going to be able to catch him. And, he is the complete package. And I think when it comes to comparing C.J. Stroud and Jayden Daniels, Daniels is by far the superior player heading into their second years. And if anything, I think Jayden's going to be more comfortable and be even more efficient than he was in 2024. Now, maybe those clutch numbers, maybe the 4th down conversion rate won't be 87%. That's kind of an outlier number. But the efficiency numbers and, some of the fadeaways that we saw Jayden Daniels throw short from time to time, is an example. Maybe we see less of those. Cliff Kingsbury keeps talking about how more comfortable Jayden Daniels is in this offense this year, and he's adding not only Deebo Samuel, a fantastic gadget wide receiver that's led the league in yards after the catch per reception for the last 5 years, but he's also adding probably the best pass-protecting left tackle in football in Laramie Tunsil. So I just don't see any way that Jayden Daniels is going to regress this year. I think he's going to be just as good, and I think by the end of the season, we talked about that big four that people kind of consensus have with Mahomes, Allen, Lamar, and Burrow. I think at the end of the season, we're going to be talking about a top 5. So let me know down there in the comment section, what is the percent chance that Jayden Daniels wins NFL MVP this year? I think that he's got about as good of a shot as anybody else in the league. Put it on a scale of 0, meaning no chance he wins it this year, to 100, meaning it's in the bag. If he stays healthy, he's winning MVP. All right, that'll be it for today's show, guys. Really do appreciate all of your guys' support. We've got in-depth coverage on the Commanders every single day on this channel, so if you like nerdy videos like this one and you guys want nuanced Commanders content with a bunch of context, you can click that subscribe button right now. And until next time, guys, go raise some hail. All right, second segment in the books. We got a mailbag coming up next here, Joey, so get those hashtag Commanderses and Super Chats in. Jasmine sent in a $2 Super Chat. So are we going to utilize Luke and Ben? I'm guessing she's talking about Luke McCaffrey and Ben Sinnott. McCaffrey, he's going to have to earn everything he gets. And I think that's the way Dan Quinn wants it, Joey, where third-round pick, pretty decent draft pick, kind of expecting something out of him, and he didn't get much out of him last year in his rookie season.
Outside of, returning. That's
kick returning, he did a really good job. Good yak threat, I would say. But we didn't get much out of him other than that. Even with injuries to, Noah Brown, we didn't see much of Luke McCaffrey. So he played really well at OTAs, played really well at minicamp. There's some expectations that he's going to be able to, get more playing time this year. And heading into year 2, you would hope he would earn that. But the reason why they have, they expect Terry to be there, they expect Deebo to be there, Noah to be there. They want to make sure that they're playing 3 good receivers at any given time. So Luke's going to have to prove it. He's not going to be given anything, and that's the way that it should be. So we'll see how Luke does in camp. If he plays well, I think he's going to be a rotation piece. If he doesn't, he's going to be sitting the pine for most of the season yet again. But then Ben Sinnott, I think we'll see more of him this year, but I still think it's going to be Zach Ertz most of the time as the receiving tight end. Now, what I like about Washington's tight end room, guys, is that they got different skill sets. All right, you got your possession guy in Zach Ertz. You've got your blocking guy in John Bates. And then you've got kind of like your Jonnu Smith, kind of screen threat, good yak threat, really good athlete.
Receiver tight end mix.
Yeah, Ben Sinnott, where he's going to be your, Deebo is going to get most of the manufactured touch stuff. But when they don't go to Deebo for that kind of stuff, they're going to do some misdirection. I can't wait for Cliff Kingsbury to have this play, and I'm going to call it right now. We're going to come back to this when this play happens, but they're going to motion Deebo out from in the backfield. The defense is going to shift in that direction because they're expecting them to throw a quick screen out to him, and then they're going to do a tight end screen to Ben Sinnott on the other side when the defense shifts over, and Sinnott is going to be able to get a huge gain with his athleticism. He better be installing that play because, the players that they have on this team, they can absolutely pull that off.
Coming to a YouTube short near you in October.
When we finally see that play. And it'll probably be a touchdown. It'll be a huge play for this team. But, Sinnott, I think, won't be like a superstar this year. He's not going to get 800 yards or anything like that. He's going to be used, I think, a little bit more sparingly than maybe some Commanders fans would want. But I think that the quote-unquote receiver tight end job is his in the future when Zach Ertz leaves, and he's going to have his specific packages where he's going to get some manufactured touches this year. So not expecting a huge role out of Sinnott this year, but I do think he'll be very, very useful in the role that he'll be playing.
A little PSA from Jasmine. I think we said ma'am or girl. And
did I say that?
I think so. We can roll. I don't know. But
I don't know. Well, Jasmine,
we're sorry.
My bro, I apologize if I made it seem like you weren't anything else. Jasmine, we appreciate you, man. Thanks for the 2. You're a great one. We love you.
Make sure to get those questions in. We got a couple good ones rolling in. We'd love 1 or 2 more. We got a lot about Terry. Let's just go ahead and pass Terry because we're going to talk about Terry in this episode, okay? So give us some new questions, not Terry McLaurin specific. Ask some stuff about training camp coming up. ask some stuff about the season, about the schedule, any trade rumors, stuff like that, go ahead and get that in the comment section down below.
Let's give them 2 minutes to get a couple more questions in here, Joey.
Okay.
We're making good time here. So we're in no rush. We'll give you guys 2 minutes to get your questions in. We already got plenty of Scary Terry questions, guys. So any other questions on any other topic, that would be good. Okay. So I see Billy Everett's question. I don't think we're going to get to Billy's in the mailbag because this came in a little late, but I want to answer it now. He says, do you think Terry will take the low of $28 million in the end? No, I don't. I don't think he'll take it unless there's a 3 as the first number.
Yeah.
And by the way, he shouldn't take $28 million per season, all right? Like, he shouldn't do that. He is an all-pro receiver. He had 13 touchdowns last year. He killed the Detroit Lions last year in a crucial playoff game. He has earned every single dime of that contract.
Yep.
It's not like the Commanders need the penny pinch. They've got Jayden Daniels, who is under
on a
contract for the next 4 years, 2 more years if you want to franchise tag him before you give him that massive contract, even though I do think they will extend him in a couple of years here. But, like, you're not paying anything at the quarterback position. So if you're not paying the quarterback, pay your quarterback's favorite weapon. Like, allocate those resources to a top 10 receiver that's still playing at a top 10 level.
Yep.
It's not that hard. And I understand that Terry's getting up there in age and he's 30 years old, all right? And we saw what happened to Amari Cooper last year. We saw that happen. And I think the Commanders are a little worried that they're going to guarantee all this money to Terry McLaurin and he's going to turn to Amari Cooper. Well, he's not Amari Cooper. I don't see him losing the massive step athletically that Cooper lost last year. I don't see him developing a drop issue like Amari Cooper did last year. Terry McLaurin's going to be just fine, all right? And I think you're getting at least 1, but probably 2 or 3 really good all-pro caliber seasons out of Terry McLaurin before you start to see him lose a step. And then that's why you don't put a ton of guarantees on the final year so that,
you can cut him loose if you need to.
You can cut him if you need to. So
he's also better than Amari Cooper. Like, I think he's had a better career than Amari Cooper.
Yeah.
Especially given the talent that Cooper played with. 3 or 4 years with Dak Prescott compared to the quarterbacks that Terry McLaurin's had to play with, like, it's not even close.
Yeah, from a context standpoint, Terry right now, last year, was better than Amari Cooper was at any point in his career.
Yes, totally agree.
It's like right now, he is not even a question, a top 10 receiver in the game, and right now, like, apparently the Commanders are offering like barely even top 15 money, barely even offering him a raise. Like, right now, he is making like $22.5 million per season, somewhere around that range. They're offering him 24, according to Adam Schefter. That is insulting with today's current wide receiver market. Jamar Chase is the highest paid non-quarterback in football with over $40 million per season. Like, if you're paying Terry McLaurin, a receiver that's not that far away from Jamar Chase, by the way, $7 million less per season, that is a bargain. And it pisses me off that Adam Peters doesn't see that. And he wants to try and play Madden GM here and try to fleece one of his best players. Like, it's a bad look. It's a bad look. And by the way, how has this strategy worked for the Cowboys? How has this strategy worked for the 49ers? 0 Super Bowl championships since their current GMs have taken over. It pisses me off, all right? Good teams don't do this. So, pay Terry McLaurin what he's worth is what my take is. All right. Let's get into it right now, guys. I'm answering your questions. It's my favorite segment of the week. The Commanders Report Mailbag is coming at you right now. It's my favorite segment of the week. It is the Commanders Report Mailbag, where I answer your questions on the burgundy and gold. And you guys usually bring the heat here with good questions, so I can't wait to see what you got for me this week. But before we get into the questions today, click that subscribe button to join the most interactive community of Commanders fans anywhere on YouTube right here on the Commanders Report. We got almost 50,000 subscribers already to our channel here. We have grown exponentially over the last 2 years. We are the fastest growing and now the largest individually run Commanders news program anywhere on YouTube. So if you guys want to help us out and you want to help yourself out here by joining thousands of other Commanders fans that have already clicked that subscribe button, do yourself a favor and click that sub today. All right, so now let's get to $5 super chat from Jasmine. My man says, will we pay Terry, and are we going to get a free agent pass rusher before the season starts? The answer to the question, Jasmine, is I hope the answer to both of these questions is yes. All right, like Von Miller, Zadarius Smith, Jadeveon Clowney. You get any one of those three, I think that those three guys can, approach what Dante Fowler Jr. was able to do as this team's designated pass rusher last year. And then when it comes to paying Terry, unfortunately, Adam Peters is coming from the John Lynch school of contract negotiations here, which is lowball the shit out of a star player that you have until the very last second and then cave and give him the money that he wants. And it's just like, can we just pay Terry what he's worth? I mean, the highest paid receiver in the world right now is Jamar Chase at over $40 million per season. I think Terry's asking for like DK Metcalf money at $33 million per season. That's $7 million less. Pay him that, man. Like, he's absolutely worth it. He's a top 10 receiver in the game. 13 touchdowns last year. He suffered through the Taylor Heineke's and Carson Wentz's of the world here in Washington. He deserves it, all right? He deserves it, and if this is a good organization, they just pay him that money. Team Production says, do you think the JD5 will have a sophomore slump? I do not. All right? I think the comparison that most people make is C.J. Stroud. Where it's like, oh, C.J. Stroud had a great first season, so Jayden Daniels is going to have a stinker in year 2 like C.J. did. Well, C.J., he didn't have as good of a season, first of all. Jayden Daniels outperformed him in pretty much every single statistical metric, whether you're looking at the base stats, the baseline stats, or whether you're looking at the advanced stats. Like, Jayden Daniels, just plain and simply, had a better season than C.J. Stroud. And I also think that Jayden is more, has protected himself more against the sophomore slump because of what he does as a player, right? He doesn't hold the ball as long as C.J. Stroud does. So, the pressure stuff isn't going to be as much of a problem with Jayden this year. And then you got Jayden with his rushing ability, much better rusher than C.J. Stroud is. Not to mention he's a great playmaker on the move, outside the pocket as well. So the thing about Jayden is that it doesn't matter how much film you watch on him, he's just so difficult to defend because he's so good within structure and within the pocket. Then he's so good as a playmaker with his arm scrambling, and then he's so good as a dynamic rushing threat. Those are kind of the three pillars of Jayden Daniels' game, and it's like you take away one, but he's going to use a different avenue to beat you, whereas C.J. Stroud, his first season was all like play action deep shots, and as long as you could take that away, then C.J. wasn't nearly the same player. So people talk about Jayden and like he's going to be C.J. Stroud this year, and I'm like, I just don't see how this player is going to do the same thing that other player did when they're not similar players whatsoever. So I'm not worried about JD5 having a sophomore slump at all. So what say you guys? Let me know down there in the comment section. Will Jayden have a sophomore slump this year? Put me down for a big fat no, but give me a yes or no down there in the comment section for today's pinned question. YouTube's going to throw you an ad break here in just a couple of seconds, and when that happens, take advantage of that time. But give me a yes or no down there in the comments. JG, my man, coming in, says, who wins? Second round draft picks or owners? So this is a big storyline. And listen, man, this video is probably going to go out on a Sunday. So maybe some of these rookies end up signing their deals by the time this video comes out. But at the time of me recording this video, only 2 of the 32 second-round picks have signed their rookie contracts. And, of course, that means Trey Amos, the second-round pick for the Commanders, has not signed his deal at the time of me recording this deal. And if that's the case, and if he's holding out into training camp, that's going to put him behind the 8 ball in the CB2 battle that he's going to be having with Jonathan Jones. And if he's missing significant time in training camp, I don't think he starts week 1. I think Jonathan Jones will get the starting nod week 1. So I want Trey Amos there. I hope that the players can get the money that they feel that they deserve, and I hope that the owners kind of come to their senses here. Just pay these guys their money, man. They deserve it. But yeah, I'm really hoping that Amos is going to be on that field as this team's number 2 corner week 1. Then we got one from Ivanki E. Says, what are the Commanders' primary goals and expectations for the upcoming season? So obviously win a Super Bowl. All right, like that is what it's all about these next at least 4 years when you have cost-controlled Jayden Daniels money. And like that's the goal. It's Super Bowl or bust now officially here in Washington. And, you want to get to double-digit wins again. Obviously, another goal is win the division. Haven't been able to do that in a little while here. But, yeah, the ultimate goal for a team that has a quarterback like this every single year, and this is the benefit of having an elite quarterback on your team, is that you're always going to have Super Bowl expectations. Obviously, those are lofty expectations. Only one team is able to hoist that Lombardi trophy year in and year out. But I would much, much rather be in the hunt and then not get it than to not be in the hunt and talk about how to get in the hunt in future seasons like this fan base and this team has had to deal with for the last several years. So we got GS4L says, will Debo make us that much better? So for what his role is, I think that it's perfect for him. All right, he's not going to be asked to be the number one receiver. He's not going to be asked to route up a guy on 3rd and long into the intermediate, like on man coverage. Like that's not going to be what his role is. That's Terry's role. Okay, and I do expect Terry will be here. Debo's going to be the guy that they use in motions and put him all over the formation and put him in the backfield and use him on screens. And, it's going to be so hard for opposing defenses, guys, and I can't stress this enough, where you got Debo Samuel doing all this crazy shifts and motions, and you still have to deal with Terry McLaurin as well. And I think Cliff is going to be able to manipulate defensive coverages quite a bit with these two players. And then Debo, the last 5 years, has led the league in yards after the catch per reception in the NFL, the last 5 years. All right, so he is an elite threat after the catch. He's a fantastic screen threat. He's a great run blocker. And I think that the routes that he does run well, kind of like the slants and the digs, are a perfect complement to Terry McLaurin. So I think Debo will have a bounce-back season this year, and I think he adds another element of danger for opposing defenses here in Washington. So make sure you guys click that thumbs up icon if you haven't already. If you are a real one and you love our channel, you want to help us out, the easiest way to do that, click that thumbs up icon. It's free. It takes a half second of your time, and it puts this video in front of more Commanders fans like yourselves, so more people click that subscribe button, and so on, and so on, and so on. So easiest way to help us out, click that thumbs up icon if you're already subscribed. All right, our next question coming in here from GS4L. Never mind. We got another question coming in here. Our super chat software is being a little bit slow here, guys. So give me just a little bit of a second here while we get this next super chat up. There it is. Dean Productions is, what do you think Trey Amos stats are going to be? So here's the thing about cornerback stats, guys. They're so volatile, all right? You have a guy like Sauce Gardner, where the first 2 years of his career, he's without question the best corner in football. Dominant, all right? Nobody could get anything on him. Then last year, he had some bad games, he had some losses, and he was a little bit more beatable, let's say. That's not because Sauce Gardner is not still an elite corner, all right? It's because this position, depending on who you go up against on any given week, it's very volatile. And very, very rarely do you have like a Darrelle Revis where you got like multiple seasons where literally nobody can guard you, all right? But Amos, I think, is going to be a good player. That's what I can tell you about Amos. I think that he's going to get a couple interceptions. I think that he's going to be very sound in coverage for a rookie. It's one of the things that stood out to him on his Ole Miss tape was that maybe he's not the fastest guy in the world, but he's got really quick feet. And he's going to be able to click and close really well in off coverage, but he's also long and physical enough to play in press. He's fast enough to stick with receivers in press coverage as well, which is important for this defense. He's just a fit with what the Commanders want, and he's going to be going up against number 2 corners this year, guys. So I think that Amos, if he plays and if he, hopefully, cross our fingers, he gets that contract done before camp and he's ready to go, I think he's going to have a hell of a rookie campaign. Then we got Jasmine again, says, so are we going to utilize Luke and Ben? Talking about Luke McCaffrey and Ben Sinnott. The way that the wide receiver room is kind of playing out right now, especially if Terry's on the roster, is that Luke's going to have to earn everything that he gets. All right, you got Terry, you got Debo, and you've got Noah Brown. All right, so that at most is probably going to give Luke McCaffrey rotational reps if he earns them in training camp this year. He'll be the guy that comes in if there's an injury for sure. But then, hopefully he can carve out himself a role as maybe a yak threat. Maybe his route running has gotten better. It could be a little bit more of an intermediate threat on third downs. And, of course, if there's an injury, he's going to have to step up if he's going to prove that third-round pick this team spent on him was worth it. And then when it comes to Ben Sinnott, Zach Ertz is still going to be the number 1 tight end. He's going to be your possession-type tight end. John Bates is going to continue to be your blocking tight end. You give him a nice 3-year contract this year. So Ben Sinnott is still going to be, not used a ton, but I think that he is going to be used more this year. I think he's going to be used as kind of like another manufactured touch screen type of player where, he's got really great athleticism, quick feet, physical after the catch, So, I think they might do some misdirection stuff this year where they might motion Debo before the snap, get the defense's eyes on him, and then boom, they get it to Ben Sinnott on the other side of the formation with blockers in front of him on a screen, and that has the potential to be one of the staples in the Commanders' offense this year when they need a big play. So I think that Luke and Ben can certainly carve themselves out roles this year, but I think the way Dan Quinn, the head coach, wants it is that these guys got to earn everything that they get, and that's going to be the challenge for them heading into year 2. Then we got Jack Ridgway says, do you think they have a chance on beating the Chiefs? Yes, they do. All right, when you got a quarterback as good as Jayden Daniels. I mean, I said last year after they beat the Detroit Lions, even though their cornerback room was terrible, even though their offensive line had some issues, even though they didn't have the best weapons group in the world, I said, I don't care what the roster looks like. You got Jayden Daniels, you've got a chance. If he is on fire and he is playing the way that we know that he's capable of playing, they can beat anybody. And we saw last year that the Chiefs are not infallible. They got their ass handed to them by the Philadelphia Eagles. All right, so obviously the Eagles and Commanders roster-wise, I'd say the Eagles still have the better overall roster, but I would say the Commanders have the better quarterback, which gives the Commanders a chance versus them. It gives them a chance versus the Chiefs. It gives them a chance against the Bills. It gives them a chance against the Rams. It gives them a chance against any team that they play. So absolutely, the Commanders could beat the Chiefs. Billy Everett here says, do you think Scary Terry will take the low of $28 million in the end? Talking about will he accept a contract that's $28 million per season? No, I don't think so. And honestly, I don't want him to. He deserves a contract that is over $30 million per season. I think if you play low ball with a player like this and then he ends up accepting, the players in the locker room are going to be like, wait a second, like these guys are forcing star players that have been very loyal to the organization to take way less than their market value just to stay with this team. It's not going to be a good look, and it's going to lead to a lot of other free agents. It's going to have a ripple effect. It's going to lead to other free agents, top players on this team wanting to leave in free agency in future years and not sign extensions. And like that's not the way I want to do business. I want to pay my star players what they're worth, and Terry McLaurin, 13 touchdowns last year, once again over 1,000 yards, easily the number one receiver in this offense, all-pro caliber player. He's going to be that again for this team this year. So I would pay him $33 million per season at least. That's what DK Metcalf got from the Steelers. I think he's better than DK Metcalf easily. He does everything for you. He's a yak threat. He's a route runner. He's a vertical threat. He's arguably the best contested catch receiver in the league too. Like he's got phenomenal hands. There's nothing this cat can't do. All right. So if you want to win a Super Bowl this year and you need Scary Terry to win a Super Bowl, I'm sorry guys, you're not paying your quarterback. So pay his weapon. All right. So we got Eon. Says, is the Commanders' cornerback room crack the top 10? It really does depend on if Trey Amos is an instant smash success and whether or not Marshawn Lattimore bounces back. If those two things happen, you got Mike Sainristil, who's awesome. Okay, Mike Sainristil is absolutely fantastic from the slot. Okay, so I have no problems with him. But obviously, Marshawn, coming off that hamstring injury, needs to prove A, that he can stay healthy, and B, that he's still the same player early on in his career when he was shutting guys down in press man coverage. And then Trey Amos, as a rookie, unproven, needs to come in and show what he's got as well. But they've got top 10 potential is what I'll say, Eon. They got to prove it, but they definitely have more talent in this room than they've had the last several seasons. So fill in the blank for me down there in the comments section. The Commanders have a top blank cornerback room in the NFL right now. I think they have top 10 potential. Will they get there? I guess we'll see. Let me know what you guys think down there in the comments section. Great questions yet again. Like I said, it's my favorite segment of the week because you guys always bring the heat here on the Commanders Report mailbags. Make sure you click that subscribe button if you haven't already because we got more Commanders coverage in-depth and free for you guys every single day on this channel. So until next time, guys, hail to the Commanders. All right, man, that's going to do it for today's live show. I thought it was a really fun show today, man. We got to talk a little Jayden, talked a lot about Terry and that whole situation and why I got to vent a little bit about why I think that this organization is handling this in the complete wrong direction.
Couldn't agree more.
You're not paying your quarterback, so reallocate those financial resources to his weapon. Look at the Bengals. They're paying the quarterback and not one but two of his weapons right now. You're telling me you're not paying for your quarterback and you don't even want to pay for one weapon for him?
Just the whole confusing thing, too, is if you had a T. Higgins, then you could justify a little bit, maybe we don't need to pay him that much money, but you don't have a T. Higgins.
Exactly.
You don't have a second option.
And it's like, do you really think without Terry McLaurin, this team, even with a guy like Jayden Daniels, and you guys heard me, I think he's a top 5 quarterback already. Not even Jayden can carry this team to a Super Bowl if you don't have Terry McLaurin.
Agreed.
You need him on this team. You need him, all right? Like, if you don't have him on the team, defenses are just going to be allowed to play so up in the Commanders' face. They're going to be able to do a bunch of blitz stuff with not a lot of safety help in the backside because they're not scared of anybody. Debo's not burning you, all right? Noah's not burning you, all right? There's no one really on this team, maybe other than Jalen Lane, that would be willing to burn a defense over the top if you don't have Terry McLaurin. And it's like Jalen Lane, that's all he does as a receiver really is, he can catch underneath stuff and he's pretty good after the catch, and he's a vertical threat. He's not really bringing much else to the table, so at least as a receiver right away.
Yeah.
So, you got to pay Terry. You just do. And if you trade him, you got to trade him for another potential number 1 type of receiver because you need that person in this offense. But you already have the perfect one, and you can get him for $7 million less than the market right now at $33 million per season. Just do it. It's just a no-brainer decision. It's pissing me off, and frankly, it's pissing Terry off, who wants to be here, by the way. Made that abundantly clear in his press conference earlier this week. I want to be here. This is my home. Just give me the money that I'm worth, and I've proven that I've proven I'm a top 10 quarterback or wide receiver. Just give me money that reflects that. It's not that big of an ask.
The disrespect is crazy.
It is. It is. And I like Adam Peters, guys. You guys know, I think Peters has made some good moves. Obviously, he got the quarterback right. He deserves credit for that. I'm not trying to completely shit on Adam Peters here, but at the same time, it's like, how has this strategy worked out for the 49ers? How has this strategy worked out for the Dallas Cowboys? You sign these players late. They don't participate in training camp. You get off to slow starts in the season, and that can lead to catastrophic things because you only get 17 games.
Yep.
The difference between 2 or 3 losses that you could have won is playoffs versus not playoffs. And I don't want to risk that this year. I want to go to the playoffs again. I want to have a lot of fun on those playoff watch parties. I went back and watched the playoff watch parties this weekend. They were a ton of fun.
Electric.
I want that again. And I think the Commanders want that again. And $33 million per season for a bona fide number 1 receiver is not that much. Just get it done. All right. I got to go cool down now, all right?
Let's do it.
It's just I got to cool down because this team is pissing me off at this point.
I got to get another Jack Daniels.
Yeah, you got to get another Jack Daniels. All right, that's going to be it for today's show, guys. Thank you so much for sticking with us here to the end of today's show. We'll have more coverage for you throughout the week, and, of course, we'll be live again next week as well. So click that subscribe button if you haven't already, and until next time, guys, go raise some hail.